So friends, now in this presentation, we'll try to discuss something very important from the examination point of view, a model question paper based on the appreciating prose. Well, remember the paper, the exam is for 80 marks for about 2.5 hours. So we have 150 minutes, 2.5 hours. So here's the first question. There are 3 questions. The first question is a short answer question. Remember, there are 15 questions. Each question carries 2 marks, and you can answer all the questions if you want, because it has a ceiling of 25 marks. So 15 questions, 2 marks. So if you answer all the questions, it will be you will get 30. I mean, you'll be given 30 marks, but you can score all the 25 marks if you answer all the 15 questions. So let us discuss the questions, important questions, one by one. Question number 1. What is the difference between a novel and a short story? It is based on module 1. Well, a short story, a novel and a short story. So a short story is a brief fictional prose narrative with only a few characters. So it is brief, it is very short, fictional prose narrative, a few characters. It focuses on a self-contained incident, evoking a single effect. That's a short story. Whereas a novel is an invented prose narrative of considerable length and certain complexity. It is longer than a short story. It is more complex. A novel deals with human experience through a sequence of events involving a group of persons in a specific setting. So this is the difference between a short story and a novel. Question number 2. What are the functions of prose? This is also from the module 1, the first module. Prose, the functions of prose. Prose is used when the writer wants to tell a story in a straightforward manner. Prose should be used when the writer wants their writing to resemble everyday speech, something that resembles, something that sounds like everyday speech. Now, question number 3. What is the difference between a formal essay and an informal essay? This is also from module number 1. A formal essay and an informal essay. Well, formal essays, they are very serious. They are impersonal and serious purpose, dignity, and logical organization. Formal essays, impersonal, serious purpose, dignity, logical organization. Whereas informal essays, they are personal. Informal essays are personal, that contain personal elements such as self-revelation, individual tastes, experiences, humor, and graceful style. They are personal, they are more interesting. Like, for example, our Dream Children, Charles Lamb's Dream Children. So there are three questions from module 1. Now we come to Bacon. What are the main uses of studies according to Bacon? Now, study is for pleasure, for ornament, and for ability. Studies serve for pleasure, for ornament, and for delight. This is the first sentence, the opening sentence of Bacon's essay of studies. Question number 5. It is from Charles Lamb. Why is Charles Lamb's essay called A Reverie? It has a subtitle, A Reverie. The essay, The Dream Children, is subtitled A Reverie. Why? Because Lamb never married or had children. In the essay, he has created an imaginary picture of a happy married life. Now, in the essay, when we read the essay, we feel that he is married, whereas, in his real life, he was never married. He never had any children. So it was only a dream. It was a reverie. A picture which finally dissolves into nothing. as he comes back to reality. Now, at the end of the essay, he comes back to he wakes up from the dream and he comes back to reality. So that's the reason why the Dream Children is subtitled. It is given a subtitle in Reverie. Question number 6. It's from Chesterton. Now, why, according to Chesterton, small boys do not complain of being trapped in a railway station? For example, if you go to the railway station, if the train happens to be late, we become very anxious. We become uncomfortable. But whereas children, they start enjoying. No, they never complain. Now, why? Now, small boys trapped inside railway stations due to delayed trains, they would make most of the situation. They would start enjoying themselves. To them, a railway station is a cavern of wonder or a palace of poetical pleasures. To them, to the children, the red light and the green light on the signal are like a new sun and a new moon. So for them, if the train happens to be late, well, they get a lot of time to play, to enjoy themselves, to entertain themselves. They will run here and there, and they would make most of the time. Question number 7. Why does Camus say that the true artists scorn nothing and they are obliged to understand rather than to judge? Now, this is from Albert Camus' Nobel Prize speech. Now, a person chooses to be an artist only to be a different man. An artists are different people. Artists consider themselves to be different. So a person chooses to be an artist to be a different man. But when he becomes an artist, when he starts doing the artwork, he understands that he cannot maintain his art unless he is one with others. Without popular support, an artist cannot live. That is why the true artist scorns nothing. He is obliged to understand, not judge. He should never make judgments. He should understand people. He should be one with people. Question number 8. Why did Camus feel shocks and inner turmoil on knowing that the Nobel Prize to be given to him? Now, when he heard that he was selected for the Nobel Prize, well, he felt shocks and inner turmoil. Why? Camus says the award is beyond his merits. He says he doesn't deserve it because he is, for a variety of reasons, he is young, number 1, rich only in doubts, works still in progress, lives in the loneliness of his work. But suddenly he becomes in the center of attraction. Everybody starts, the whole world, the entire world starts looking at him. To accept the honor of the Nobel Prize is very difficult because there are other more eligible writers in Europe. He says there are other people who deserve the prize. And his own native country is in trouble. His own country, it was also in trouble. So he felt shock and inner turmoil. Question number 9. Writers imagine that they cull stories from the world, that it is actually the other way around. Stories cull the writers from the world. Explain. This is from Identity Roy's lecture. Come September. Well, writers imagine that they cull stories from the world. Identity Roy says that writers usually imagine that they cull stories from the world. But in fact, it is the other way around. It is not the writers select stories from the world. It is stories. The stories, they colonize us. They commission us. They insist on being told. They tell us. They demand stories, the events happening in the world. They demand that they be told. Please tell the world about us. The stories tell us. Please tell the world about us. So stories reveal themselves to us. They colonize us. They commission us. They insist on being told. Question number 10. What future does Identity Roy foresee for the American style market capitalism? She compares the American style market capitalism to the Soviet style communism. The Soviet style communism collapsed. Similarly, she says the American style market capitalism will also collapse, because both are constructed by products of human intelligence and they'll be undone by human nature. So Soviet style communism failed because it allowed too few people to usurp too much power. Power, unlimited power, was in the hands of very few people, and so it failed. 20th 21st century American style market capitalism is also like that. That will also fail for the same reason, because both are Soviet style communism and the 21st century American style market capitalism. Both are edifices. They are structures constructed by human intelligence, and they'll be undone by human nature. Question number 11. Why does Pico Iyer argue that punctuation marks are road signs placed along the highway of our communication? Now, Pico Iyer says punctuation marks, full stops, commas, semicolon, colon, and all these things. Punctuation marks are road signs. Road signs, like road signs, placed on the highway of our communication. So communication is compared to a highway, and on a highway you will see road signs. Road signs to control speeds, provide directions, and to prevent collisions, accidents. A period, that is a full stop. A full stop is like the red light. The red light asks you to stop. So a full stop is the end of a sentence. Comma is a flashing light, a flashing yellow light that asks us to slow down, a comma. And a semicolon, it's a partial, it's a pause, a stop sign that tells us to ease gradually, to halt, come to a halt before gradually starting up again. So the punctuation marks are compared to the road signs on the highway of our communication. Question number 12. Why is Achebe wary of one way, one truth, one life menace? He is very, very cautious. He is very, very careful. He doesn't like the one way, one truth, one life menace, because he says it is fanaticism. It is fanaticism. It is singularly horrendous. It is horrible. But the preference of the Igbo people is not singularity, but duality, because plurality or duality is always better than singularity. What was the Textbook Act? The Textbook Act was introduced by William Simpson. William Simpson, the principal of Achebe's school. The principal of Achebe's school believed that excessive devotion to bookwork is a real danger. If you try to if you become a bookworm, it is very, very dangerous. He made it a rule which promoted the reading of novels. Children should read fiction, novels. It also prohibited, it prevented students, pupils from reading textbooks after classes on 3 days of the week. On 3 days of the week, after classes, children were prohibited from reading textbooks. He called it, William Simpson called it, the Textbook Act, that allowed students to extensively read fiction, biographies, and magazines. So on 3 days, children were not supposed to read textbooks. They could read fiction, novels and short stories, biographies, and magazines. Question number 14. Why did Jean Valjean decide to spare the life of Javert? Jean Valjean remembered the bishop's mercy on him, because when he stole the silver candlesticks and he was arrested, well, he told the policeman, no, it was his gift. So he saved him. And this act of the bishop's mercy on him, he decided to spare Javert. He remembered this, he thought about it, he recollected it, and he decided to spare Javert, the policeman. Question number 15. Why, according to Colonel Sams, the commander-in-chief of the Second World War, Colonel Sams, why was it impossible for the US to organize direct relief work in Hiroshima? It was impossible because the relief work was handed over to Red Cross, so the US could not do anything. It was impossible for the US to organize direct relief work in Hiroshima because the control and responsibility of the rescue work, the control of the rescue operations was handed over to the Red Cross. So these are the model short answer questions, 15 questions. And remember, there is a ceiling of 25 marks. So if you can answer all the 15 questions, we can score uh, all the 25 marks. Now here are the second question. Answer the following questions in a paragraph. There are 8 questions. Altogether 8 questions are given and 5 marks each. And there is a ceiling of 35 marks. Now here are the 8 model questions. What is the importance of the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle? That is from the first module. Well, Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, the Anglo-Saxon period is from the 5th century to 11th century. 5th century, the departure of the Romans from England. And 11th century, that is 1066, the Norman conquest. Now, Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, it's a history book. Now, this is the most important source of British history from the 5th century to 11th century. That is the importance of the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle. Now, the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle is a chronological account of events in Anglo-Saxon England. It is a compilation, a record of 7 surviving interrelated manuscript records. It also serves as the primary source for the early history of England. The narrative, the history, was first assembled during the reign of King Alfred the Great. This chronicle, Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, is the most important source of English history from the departure of the Romans, that is in the 5th century BC, in the 5th century to the decades following the Norman conquest in 1066, that is 11th century. Second question, what are Bacon's observations on different types of reading? Now, Bacon tells us about different types of kinds of books. He says, some books are to be tasted, others to be swallowed, and some few to be chewed and digested. That's the opening sentence. So here Bacon tries to distinguish between the quality and the value of the content of books. Some books are to be tasted, that is, to be read in parts. Others require complete reading, though not close reading, close perusal, that is, others to be swallowed. And there are some books to be chewed and digested. There are some books which are to be chewed and digested. That is, every detail is to be scanned carefully. There are also some books whose abstracts, summaries, synopsis are to be read only to get only the content. Question number 3 about dream children, the nostalgia and the memory in dream children. Charles Lamb's essay, The Dream Children, contains feelings of fond memory, recollections of, old feelings, old memories, longing and sadness. The speaker recalls his beloved relatives from his past. For example, Grandmother Field and Brother John. He shares with his dream children his memories of Field, that is grandmother, her loving nature, her deeply religious character. Her death was mourned by the entire village. When she died, the entire people of the whole village came. They queued up to pay respects. His brother John was full of love and care for him. There is an element of pathos when he talks about his frustration in love. It arouses feelings of sadness. Thus, Lamb's nostalgic memory transports us back to those good old days of his near and dear ones. Question number 4. Chesterton's description of the Battersea during the flood. Now, Chesterton says that he felt a savage envy on hearing that in his absence, London was flooded. Battersea was already the most beautiful of human localities, a meeting point of waters. Battersea is a meeting point of waters. Now Battersea has an additional gift. Already there is water. Now it has an additional gift of great sheets of flood water. The landscape must be very, very romantic because the entire area is covered by water. flooded, submerged underwater, like a vision of Venice. The ordinary boatman, bringing meat and vegetables to the corners, must have enjoyed the rippling silver on the boat. There is nothing so perfectly poetical as an island. Oh, an island is an excellent, it's a brilliant view. It's a brilliant sight. And when a district is flooded, well, it becomes an archipelago, a group of islands. Camus' idea of a writer. The writer's role is a very, very difficult one. The writer should serve the people, not the government. The writer should side with the people, not side with the government. Otherwise, he'll be alone. The artist will be alone with no art. Only the silence of an unknown prisoner, left to live in humiliation, can save him from exile. The writer should make that silence, the silence of the unknown prisoner, resound everywhere by means of his art. To win the heart of people, the writer, the artist, should accept two tasks. Number one, the service of truth. Number two, the service of liberty. The writer's task is to unite the maximum people. The nobility of the writer's craft is rooted in two difficult commitments. What are the two difficult commitments? Number one, the refusal to lie. Don't tell lies. That is, stand by truth. Number two, the resistance to oppression. Oppress. Resist oppression. Punctuation. Punctuation becomes the signature of cultures. Explain. Punctuation is a civic prop. It's a civic property. It's a pillar that holds society upright. Punctuation was one of the first properties of the Victorian age that the modernists threw off. The hot-blooded Spanish people of Spain, they used double exclamation points and question marks to show his passion and urgency. The Chinese people, their omission of directions from ideograms made it more difficult to understand. The anarchy and the commotion of the 1960s were given voice in the exploding exclamation marks and the writer's capital, the capital letters. In communist societies, where state is absolute, they don't believe in God. Well, capital letters are reserved for the dignity, and the divinity of capital letters is reserved for ministries. When they name ministries, for example, the ministry, the Department of Education, D and the E capital letters. So reserved for ministries, subcommittees, secretariats. Punctuation that thus becomes the signature of cultures. Question number 7. Why does the bishop effect a transformation in the character of Jean Valjean? Now, Victor Hugo's classic novel, Les Miserables, portrays the incredible change that a single act of kindness can bring about in a person's life. Jean Valjean stole a loaf of bread to feed his sister and her 7 starving children. Subsequently, Jean Valjean was arrested and imprisoned. Later, he escaped from prison. Well, Jean Valjean was given shelter by a bishop at his house. And while sleeping at night, he felt very, very angry. And what did he do? He stole some silver candlesticks from the bishop's house at night. When he was caught by the police, the bishop saved him by covering up his crime. By this act of mercy on the part of the bishop, Jean Valjean turned his life around. There was a complete turnaround, a complete transformation, and he became a noble man. Finally, he became the mayor of a town, and he truly redeemed himself and showed the world that acts of mercy can work miracles on man. And here is the last question about Hiroshima. Hiroshima bombings are a poignant reminder to the destructive use of science and technology. Discuss. Well, the uranium bomb dropped over Hiroshima on the 6th of August 1945 had an explosive power, explosive yield equal to 15,000 tons of TNT. Well, the bomb destroyed around 90% of all buildings, and it caused an estimated 140,000 deaths by the end of 1945. The bombing also caused increased rates of cancer and the chronic diseases among the survivors. The people who survived, well, they were suffering from cancer and other chronic diseases. It set off the nuclear age with a terrible fury. 80,000 people died instantly on the spot, and thousands were injured. Thousands of people later succumbed to radiation poisoning. 4 square miles of the city was instantly wiped out, erased. Well, the bombing caused nothing but unimaginable loss and suffering to humanity. So these are the 8 model paragraph questions of forming the second question, that is, answer the following in a paragraph. And with this we come to the first part of the model question paper. Thank you very much. Best wishes. See you in the second part.